on in this coach. Okay, there was a couple of coaches coming up from Bournemouth as well. So Michael kindly sent us this video.
Oh, she's getting necked.
Don't manhandle her that badly.
Leave her alone.
Leave her alone. We complied. We gave you our details. You were illegally held for 2.5 hours. And now you're handcuffing her. We should have been allowed to leave this bus when we gave you our details. That's Amelia Chambers.
Look at the rage in his face. You're a sick fucking man. I know, you fucking dickhead.
2.5 hours.
Disgusting.
After she gave her details. Illegal detention of a civilian after they complied and gave you our details. And now you're arresting her.
Disgusting.
But she was just trying to get off the coach. We comply.
Don't let him off. Don't let him off.
Legal detention. 2.5 hours after she complied, and you would not let her off the bus. You cannot detain somebody that's complied and give you your details. She's only asking to get off the bus.
She's just been arrested for trying to get off the bus. She has just been arrested for trying to get off the bus. She gave her name,
We gave
her
our name and
address.
details 2.5 hours ago. We gave our name and details. We complied with their request, and they've detained us illegally on this bus for 2 hours now. We have a right to leave.
And now she's just been nicked for trying to get off the bus. I don't know what the fuck's happening.
So as you can see, pretty disturbing scenes there on this bus. I'm going to phone now Michael Cook. Michael was down there on this bus. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know on YouTube, we are no longer monetized. We're no longer able to earn any money through super chats. If you can support the show to keep us on the air, I think it's so important that we do keep on the air, especially with everything that is going on. I'm going to put the donations link there, and I'm going to actually pin that to the top. You can support UNN there. You can do it there and support us. So please, if you can in these difficult times, we really, really appreciate that. Right, I'm going to phone Mr. Cook just now, who's been a fantastic supporter of ours, sends us over a lot of very interesting information. We have a very enlightened community here at UNN about what is really going on. I'll sort out all the audio as well, don't worry about it.
Hello?
Mr. Cook.
Yeah, speaking.
Good evening, David Clues from Unity News Network.
Hello, David.
How are you?
Okay, thank you very much.
Good. Steve, Michael, do me a favour, turn me off in the background, please.
Well, I'm going to go next door.
Okay, sure.
That's fine, I'm just walking out of the room now.
Sure, because there'll be a wee bit of interference.
That's fine, that's okay. All sorted.
Good man, good man. So, Michael, you were on this bus yesterday and witnessed what went on. Can you talk us through a bit about what led to this situation?
If I might say, first of all, the reason we were heading for London, the two coaches, one got turned back. The reason we were heading for London was anti-lockdown protests. Now, people might say, you should not be going to these protests. Boris is right, you've got to keep this virus under control. But it's not the virus that's destroying this country, it's the government. And we tried to stop these lockdowns because it's government policy to destroy this country. That's what's going on. My argument, if people say, oh, that's not true, Boris must be doing his best, blah, blah, blah. Sweden had none of this. No Gestapo policing, no destroyed economy, no enforced masks, no shops or schools or anything closed. Sweden has lived a 90% normal life all through the summer, right up to now. So why is our government doing this? That's why we were going to London.
And Michael, that's a perfectly legitimate question to ask. So, who was on this bus, for example? Was it radical revolutionaries? Were those there?
Well, yes, but as you know, they arrested a couple of. Well, I mean, I'm 75. They arrested a couple of younger 70s, husband and wife, who were very radical revolutionaries, I must say. Very 1960s types. We had young people on board in their teens, people up to my age, 75, people from all walks of life.
So you got on these buses. Who arranged for the buses? Was it local groups that arranged them?
Well, yes, we were all part of a local group. There's no leaders particularly, although people obviously have to arrange certain things to get the buses organised. But there's no one leader. We don't follow leaders. We all join because we are of the same mind.
And the coach driver came and you got on the bus, and then what happened?
Well, we got on two buses in Bournemouth, both headed for London. We stopped at Fleet Services on the M5 for a short break. As we headed back to the buses, we were confronted by one officer in a plain car who said, we are not allowed, or I am not allowing you to move. We asked him why. He said, I've got suspicions that you're going to London. And we said, well, whether we are or not is nothing to do with you. We're all people sitting on a coach enjoying ourselves, causing no problems. We got the right to go to London. Anyway, he held us there for nearly an hour under the proportion of waiting for vehicle checks for the coaches. That never happened. Eventually he let us go. As we got back onto the M5, we were confronted by 2 or 3 police vehicles, one of which was in front of the coach, asking us to follow them, which we did. Only one coach was heading to London at this time because lots of the people felt that there might be trouble in London, and they'd gone onto one coach and they'd headed back towards Bournemouth. The ones who didn't feel strong enough to go to London, shall we say. And most of us did. We were pulled into Hillingdon train station, bus station, whereupon we stayed for 3.5 hours. Police got on the coach, and they were from the front of the coach to the back of the coach, shoulder to shoulder, 20 to perhaps 25 police, not allowing anybody to move. People were fainting.
Were the police maintaining social distancing rules, Michael?
No, they weren't. No, they were shoulder to shoulder, the police on the bus. They did have the flimsy masks on, of course, which are 7% effective. So maybe that was something, but no, they weren't maintaining social distance at all. They said they were exempt, was one of the officers told us.
Right. Okay. Interesting. And what was their overall demeanour like with you all on the bus? Were they friendly? Did they come on and say, hello everybody? Look, as you know, there are restrictions in place. We believe in free speech and everything, but we can't let you go up to London. We're going to have to ask you to turn back. Did they come on in a nice manner?
They came on initially quite in a reasonably friendly way, but they told everybody in no uncertain terms that we were not going to London. We were an illegal coach journey. That if we didn't agree to give names, addresses, and information, those who didn't would be arrested, which they did to 9 people, including the elderly couple, who only got out today, so they were obviously held overnight in London. They were taken to London, by the way. A couple of people wanted their belongings from the coach, and at one stage the police were going to refuse to give them the belongings or even any money so they could return from London back to Bournemouth. But eventually they were persuaded that that wasn't very fair, and that was done. But overall, most of the initial police were very calm and collected and put up with a lot of haranguing, shall we say. from everybody, but there was no serious violence apart from when they tried to remove people.
So people weren't giving their names to the police. Is that correct, Michael? Because
the ones who were arrested refused to give their names.
I mean, I hate to say it, but that is actually the law. You have to give your name to the police if the police stop you. You can't not give them your name, or they have the power to detain you. That's the law, unfortunately. Do you think people realised that? Or did you think there was maybe, again, without being nasty, Michael?
If you haven't actually committed a crime, or you're actually suspected of committing a crime, we're going against the regulation, which isn't a crime. I don't think it is illegal to refuse to give your name.
Right, some people are disagreeing with me on that, right, and I'm happy to be, I'm happy to be updated on this if people can tell me. They're saying you don't have to give them their name.
Yes.
Okay, police powers to stop and search, enter private property. Okay, police powers if you break coronavirus rules about meeting people. If you break the rules about meeting people, the police can tell you to go home or leave an area, take you home or arrest you if you don't follow their instructions, or fine you if you are over 18. So that is according to the... I mean, look, if people can prove me wrong on that, but, you know, there was... How many people were... Look, I'm not defending the police here. I'm just trying to find out whether they're allowed to actually detain people for not giving their name. You're right.
The coach was relatively full. I would think there were probably 40 to 50 people on the coach. I'm not sure how many would be held on the coach. But initially the police were quite nice, and there were some, quite calm, reasonable officers, and I think they got quite an earwigging from lots of people, including myself, over preventing us from going to, let's say, illegal, but as far as we're concerned, a lawful protest, a political protest against the government and against the lockdowns, which is allowed. So I think we were held illegally, basically. Corona rules or no corona rules, you are allowed to have a political protest. But all these corona rules are brought in, as Steve said earlier, to stifle any opposition to what the government's doing.
I'm just looking up a website here. Do you have to give the cops your name and address? You do not have to give your name and address unless under a specific legal obligation. Refusal to give your name and address cannot amount to obstructing the police in the course of their duty under Section 89 brackets 2 of the Police Act, but giving a false name and address can't. So were these people given, were they given us a specific legal obligation before they were asked what their names and addresses were?
I personally spoke to a policeman who was quite pleasant. I said to him, I don't want to give my name and address. He said, if you don't give me your name and address, you may be arrested. I said, okay. I said, if I give my name and address, what happens then? He said, you will be asked to leave the bus. Yes. He said, and when all this is sorted out, you'll have to make your way home. I said, okay, so how am I supposed to make my way home? He said, well, I don't care. He said, you'll just have to make your way home. I said, are you saying I won't be allowed back on the bus? He said, yes. But eventually, after 3.5 hours, we were allowed to get back on the bus. But that was his answer to me, that they were going to leave people who wouldn't give their name and address stranded at Hillingdon, 50 miles away from where we came.
I'm just, Carol kindly put in the chat, police powers to stop and search your rights. A police officer might stop you and ask you what your name is, what you're doing, why you're in the area. You don't have to stop or answer any questions. If you don't, and there's no other reason to suspect you, then this alone can't be used as a reason to stop and search you. And look, here's the thing. It is a grey area, but from my understanding, you do have a right to silence, but if the police ask your name and address, my understanding of the situation, I'll be interested to hear what Carol has to say about it, is that you usually give that to the police. But what were they being?
You don't have to. My understanding is you don't have to unless the police say what they want to charge you with. So say, well, officer, can you tell me what I'm being charged with, please, or arrested for? If they cannot give you a reason, then you don't have to give your name and address.
So those that were arrested and detained was as a result of not giving their names and address. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes. As far as I know.
Okay.
Yep.
And
all the people who gave names and addresses were eventually allowed to get back on the coach, those who'd managed to get off, or like myself, I'd stayed on the coach. But I think 3.5 hours with the police refusing to let people, women especially, who were very upset over the whole thing and feeling very faint. Even one young lad was feeling very, very ill. They wouldn't let him off the coach even for fresh air, which I think is disgusting. And outside, not just the police on the coach, but there must have been 100 police in attendance overall, and rent-a-cops with G4S, with Metropolitan Police on their backs, also with G4S on them, so they're not Metropolitan Police at all. They're rent-a-cops.
here's the thing that is the problem. It is the two-tier policing. And look, this is the problem and I'm not trying to be, excuse my language, I'm not trying to be an arsehole here. The cops hold all the power because they can detain you, they can arrest you, and they know that. They know that. So what should have happened yesterday, in your opinion, Michael? What should have happened?
I think what happened actually was more beneficial to the cause than us being allowed just to go straight into London.
Okay.
If we'd gone straight into London and joined the march along with all the other coaches that were stopped and people that were stopped, then there would have been a lot more people in London, but also all the police who were scattered around London stopping people coming in would also have been there, and there could have been big trouble. But I think what happened was, and the videos going out and your program, as we had 70,000 hits last night on Facebook. That's 70,000 people who've seen what went on. If the police had let us go into London, 70,000 people wouldn't have seen that.
Yep. And so, look, here's the fundamental thing about this. It is two-tier policing because if this was a bus of Black Lives Matter or others going to protest, the police wouldn't do it. But they are deliberately trying to destroy these anti-lockdown protests before they can grow, because they are growing.
They are growing. I don't think they'll stop it. And what they've done this weekend has made it worse in terms of the policing side of it. They're not coming out good, the police.
No, they're not.
You know, I've lived 75 years. And I didn't think I'd see Gestapo policing in this country, and I told them so. And lots of the police looked a bit down in the face. But what we have now is a Gestapo policing everybody, and if the people who are sitting at home thinking we're a load of idiots for demonstrating, if you keep sitting at home, you will end up with the Gestapo police knocking on your door, asking why you're saying something or not saying something. So we need to rise up, we need to knock this on the head, we need to get rid of this government and get rid of all these lockdowns and this rubbish about a pandemic which does not exist.
Michael, how do we do that? How do we do that? Because we're in a position where the mainstream media run everything, sadly, whether we like to admit it or not. You have a swamp. You have a parliamentary system which is just basically 600 new Labour MPs. And I'm not being defeatist here. I'm just, how do we get around it? What can we do?
It's very difficult. But unfortunately, the British people have generally been very tolerant, relaxed, taking everything because they believe the government is right all the time. The government aren't right. The people in the end are right. And this government have got to realise if they don't start stopping all these lockdowns and all this nonsense about this pandemic, which does not exist, it's just a lie. in order to control us. And if people haven't realised that every month, it's another month, it's another couple of weeks, it's another 3 weeks, or it's only another 7 weeks. Well, it's gone on now for 10 months. They're talking now of another 3 months until March. Ladies and gentlemen, you are being lied to big time. And if you don't get off your butts and stand up and do something, then I'm afraid I hate to see what will happen in this country. I'm just glad I won't be around for another 20 years.
Yep. I don't disagree with any of all that, Michael. I really don't disagree with any of that. On the bus, what the people that were there, and I was interested to hear this off Steve, is what was the background of those that were there? What motivated them to be there? Are these highly political people?
We have people who've lost their jobs. We have people on benefits who have got no hope. We've got mothers who turned up but left their children with their husbands, or husbands who turned up and left the wives with the children because they were afraid to bring the children. So if we'd been allowed to go to London peacefully, lots and lots of young children and women would have been there. But unfortunately, people are frightened to come because of this Gestapo policing we've got. But just the whole spectrum of society on the bus, really. Left, right. Freedom isn't left or right. Freedom is freedom.
Yeah.
Simple as that. You cannot put a left or right on freedom.
Yeah.
Either you have freedom or you don't. And at the moment, it's being whittled away very quickly. So people who think we're wrong in doing what we're doing and laughing and saying this pandemic's real, I knew it wasn't real in April. And I told my family so at the time. I said, you realise this isn't real? Sitting in the garden, oh yes, it's I think they're coming round to realising now. And a lot of people are, which is why this movement is now building.
What's going to be the end game, Michael? What do they want at the end of this? What do they want at the end of this?
V for vendetta. That's all I think. Bring back Guy Fawkes. That's what we're going to need, because if these police and the Parliament don't realise that you are suppressing the British people, you'll end up like they are in France, as Steve said. We'll end up in the end, the kettle will blow its top.
Yeah. And
I suggest these politicians, these lying Borises and the witches and all those who are making a fortune out of this pandemic and the vaccines and everything else, they're not doing it for nothing, these people. That's why they're pushing the pandemic and the vaccines, because they are making fortunes out of it and everybody's being lied to. I won't be taking it, the same as Steve said. There's no way I will take it. But they're talking of mandatory vaccines. So what are they going to do? Hold people down then? Chain people to hospital beds to give them the vaccine? Because that's what mandatory means.
Michael, a lot of people are asking if you have a YouTube channel. I think you've...
No.
I tell you...
No, you're my YouTube channel.
Well, I tell you, I think if you had a YouTube channel, you'd be a lot more popular than I was, because everyone's loving what you're saying.
Well, I just hope that the people who are listening can convince other people for the same. We wanted to march for the unemployed. We wanted to march for the children who are being forced to wear these stupid masks all day long and the rest of it, and walking around like sheep and clones. I've not worn a mask all year. I'm still here, 75, fit as a fiddle. So where's this virus then? That's my argument. And all these figures they're talking about of infections. It's infections now, not deaths. And you know why they won't give you the death figures? They won't give you the death figures of healthy people dying, because it's almost zero.
No, I know. Look, Michael, kudos to you.
Thank you.
Well done doing what you're doing. And here's the fundamental thing is, we just want to try and be a voice for different ideas. But this is the problem as well we've all got, Michael, is we're just going to all get booted off social media, which is another problem as well. And it is frightening times. I'm a bit blackpilled by everything, and I'm not a defeatist, but I'm just a bit put off with everything that's going on. Carol, turn your volume down. Turn the volume down, please.
You're not the only one.
I need to see a path. But listen, keep doing what you're doing, Michael. Thanks for all your support, sir.
And you.
And keep doing what you're doing. All right.
Good luck.
Thanks,
We'll keep
Michael.
supporting you.
Good man. Appreciate your support. Bye-bye.
No problem.